What in the world has happened to Tesla stock? Maybe we can take a cue from Tesla reporting, people reporting on Tesla. If you watched it last week, I parodied the horrible news and the negative reporting and the misinformation that was being put out by a wide range of news sources in just one day. I couldn't believe how many bad headlines I saw. Basically, that is dried up completely. In fact, I've been looking, I can't even find bad headlines masking good news. And I've been trying to find something negative about Tesla for about 5 days now, and there's just nothing out there. So what's going on? By the way, I'm not the only one to notice it. There has been a statistical analysis done showing that the reporting has shifted to positive. I got some ideas about that, but I want to talk to you mostly about the overall narrative for the macro, the narrative for Tesla, and also some of the details of what's behind the narrative shift. This is Randy Kirk. If you like this kind of content, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit notify. This afternoon, I'm going to have Larry Goldberg on. You do not want to miss that one, so hit notify if you want to be reminded. And then, of course, there's always Patreon. All right. Tesla stock is up 9 days in a row. Ended yesterday 125 points above the 2022 lows of 101. And then it was the 224 close was 36% above the recent April low of 165. Yeah, the market is up, and that's a big part of the reason. But what else is going on besides that? Well, several weeks ago, I did a big video on the narrative shift. I saw the narrative shifting. And what we're now seeing is all these Tesla news reports where we're seeing lots of positive news reports and no negative ones. We're seeing Elon Musk appearances, and those are going very well as usual. We have the Twitter positives, and this is all adding up to the notion that Tesla is back and it's ready to dominate the world. And investors are beginning to believe it. That's what I think, okay? For instance, the Model 3, it's all over the news. The Highland refresh might have that new shape. If it has the shape we think it does, that's a definite winner. And we could be going to 2.2 million units this year and maybe more. Who knows? My 2.2 million was never my top number. My top number was 2.6. I think there's no chance of that. But I do think there's still a chance at 2.35. I know the optimism is coming out of me again. But the 2.2 million unit is possibly going to happen, especially if the Highland is as good as it looks like it's going to be. The current Model 3 is now qualifying for the $7,500 tax benefit in all the various versions. Well, that made headlines. That made headlines everywhere. That created another round of interest in the Tesla Model 3. And then all of a sudden it was announced that in California, because they've got a matching $7,500 discount, that drives the cost of the Model 3 to as low as $2,300, which is less than a Toyota Camry. Well, and that made the news. So we had news day after news day after news day, positive news days about the Model 3, telling the world, hey, it's time to go out and buy a Model 3. It's inexpensive. It's comparatively inexpensive to the cheapest of the ICE cars. And it's better, and it's going to cost you less to own and operate. That has got to be driving people to buying Teslas. And we have had reporting that the showrooms are very, very busy right now. So, but the Model Y has been all over the news too, because why? Oh, okay. It was announced that it's the number one selling car in the entire world. And then it comes out, news release after news release. Oh, it's the number one selling car in Europe. Oh, it's the number one selling car in England. Oh, it's the number one selling car in Germany. It's the number one selling car in California. So you have all these reports coming one after another about how people are buying the Model Y. What does that tell you in your head when you hear that over and over again? Well, there's got to be a reason why all these people are buying Model Ys. Maybe I should be part of that group too. And if I'm an investor, maybe I should rethink my investment strategy with regard to Tesla. Am I not in? Maybe I should get in. If I'm in a little bit, maybe I should get in more. So that is another thing that's been going on with regard to the Model Y. Oh, it's also been, this run rate that they've got going right now. They got to do that again next year. So it's already going to sell in this year. It's going to sell more than any other car in the world, be number one in the world by a lot. And then next year, it could beat out the all-time one-year record currently held by the VW Bug and, of course, the Ford Model T. People argue about which one had the very best year ever, but whichever one it is, Tesla will outstrip both of them. That will create even more news. And of course, the Cybertruck is in the news almost every day because production's getting closer and people are talking about when is it actually coming and what's it going to look like and what are the features going to be and what's the cost going to be. So that continues to create news as well. Okay, now we're seeing reporting. This is, again, something I've been talking about for months. We've now seen reporting that this is a Washington Post, that American conservatives are now buying electric cars at a faster rate than the liberals are. So I talked about this months ago when people were complaining about Elon becoming slightly more conservative in his politics. And I said, well, we've already got the liberals buying the car. What we need the people in the flyover states to start buying it. It's the largest untapped market in the world is the flyover states of the United States, because some of those states, Teslas are only 1 or 2% of the entire sales for cars in those states, compared to 17% or more in California. So now the conservatives are starting to buy the cars. Why? Maybe part of it, if you were right about liberals saying I don't wanna, then you have to be thinking that if conservatives think he's more conservative, that would cause them to say, well, I should take a second look. I happen to believe that that's a really minor issue. What I do believe is that, and what I've said before over and over again, is that conservatives were identifying Tesla with the green movement and with the AOC and all of the folks that are talking about the end of the world, cataclysmic, climate change. And conservatives just don't believe in that. They just don't. They don't believe there's a cataclysmic climate change event going to happen anytime soon. And so they were identifying Tesla with that, not so much with Elon's politics. And now that people are starting to say, no, who cares if it's green or it's not green? It's just going to save me money, and it's a better car, and it's safer, and it's faster, and it's quicker, and it's more fun. And yeah, I should just go buy one. So that's big news. And that has been reported by none other than the Washington Post. So that's big, and that's changing, again, the narrative. We've also seen reports that overall electric sales worldwide could reach 17% in 2023 after being at 10% in 2022. Well, Tony Seba talks about the tipping point on any kind of this radical shift is usually around 10%. It could be 15, it could be 10, but you're talking about in 1 year going from 10% of the overall market for cars to 17% of the overall market for cars. That is a big data point. The electric future is almost here. It's coming fast. And I continue to say 2027 is the end of the ice age. And people laughed at me 2 years ago. They laughed at me when the Elon Musk mission came out and we said 2027. They laughed at me when I've been saying it in videos all this year. I have now got folks, Kathy Wood and others, who were agreeing with me saying 2027 should be about the end of the ice age. So now we also have the news, multiple sources now saying that Tesla and BYD have insurmountable leads. We have the CEOs of legacy car companies. We have reporting from pundits that follow the category. We have all kinds of folks coming in and saying, no, Tesla and BYD, it's the electric age is coming, and Tesla and BYD are going to be the number one and number two. I think we've been saying that for a long time here. It's not even a contest. There's nobody that's even going to be close. They will be number one and number two. Here's a couple of things that I would have missed if it wasn't for you guys who comment. You know I read your comments. You know that I respond to your comments as much as I possibly can. And so what we have here is two commenters. One was A.L. Schultz, I think it is, Schultz. And he says, hey, by the way, that ESG listing last week or a week and a half ago, that was bigger than you made it seem. You didn't talk about the ESG listing. And there was a reason for that, was because it was so sad. Here, finally, Tesla is put on the ESG list at all, okay, which they're one of the greenest companies in the world in terms of not only what they're doing as a product, but also because of the way that they run their factories. And also they meet all the other criteria of ESG in terms of the way that they hire and fire and and et cetera, in terms of their internal management methods, in terms of their trying to stay away from cobalt, period, but also definitely not buying it from countries where there's an issue. Well, so they got put on the list, but the reason I didn't talk about it, the only way I would have talked about it would have been negative at the time, was to say, wait a minute, how come there's tobacco companies and oil companies that are way higher on the list than Tesla? So that's why I didn't report. But what A.L. Schultz pointed out is they're on the list. And that means that certain institutional investors who couldn't buy it now can buy it because it's on the list. Some institutional buyers won't buy it unless it's on the ESG listing. And now it is. So that is an issue I completely missed. Thank you so much, A.L. Schultz. And hey, more folks come on. I might be R.L. Schultz. I don't want to get that wrong, but my computer font is really hard to tell whether that's an A or an R. Okay. So another one, Shandy Ashley, he says one OEM legacy company being willing to partner is not just a big deal in terms of other people coming in and saying, hey, let's partner with regard to more supercharger stations, but also just the fact that they were willing to partner opens the door to every other legacy company, every other even startup in the world, including, BYD, including all the Chinese makers, including all the Geely divisions. It says, you know what? Tesla's open for business in terms of providing you not only with free stuff, free patent information, et cetera, but also they can sell you, lease you, charge royalties for all these things that they're doing so much better than you're ever going to do, including things like over-the-air updates. So thank you again, Shandy Ashley, for bringing that point to mind. One OEM legacy is currently willing to partner with Tesla. That brings down the barrier and says to everybody else, hey, everybody else can do it. Now, speaking of Ford and General Motors basically capitulated this week. That's basically what they did. They said, we're never going to catch Tesla. Were we kidding ourselves? We're not even close. GM saying that they won't be profitable on under $40,000 electric cars until 2030 or after. Holy mackerel, that's a capitulation. Ford saying, no, we're not going to get there. We're probably going to have to come back to Tesla for other technology to even be in the business. I mean, that's a little bit of an overstatement of what Farley said, but the truth is both of them capitulated and said, no, we hope to be in the business. We want to be a player, but we're not going to catch Tesla in technology or in numbers, not a chance. So that was a big deal. That infects the mind of the institutional investor. That infects the mind of the folks like you and me, the retail investor. It infects the attitude and mood of the entire investment community. And that might be, again, why we're seeing these news reporting shifts. So we also had Panasonic coming out and saying, yeah, we're going to build a third. We have one manufacturing facility in Reno that we share with Tesla. We're going to build a second one that's already under construction that should be making batteries by sometime late next year. And now we're going to build a third one. And in addition to all of that, we're going to increase our production at Reno by 10%. Now that made news like 4 times in 4 days. Panasonic, Tesla's partner in all of this, saying, yeah, we're just going to build and build and build more of these battery factories. Again, one more evidence, one more statement of the strength and the power of Tesla. So then there's the Twitter stuff. Okay, so Twitter, of course, it's not Tesla, but it's an Elon company. And if the sentiments are good about Twitter, that's good for Tesla. So what we have this last week is, in a few days, we had the Robert Kennedy Jr. announcement. Then we had the What is a Woman video that came out with 175 million views in just a few days. And then the debut of Tucker Carlson with his first episode with about, I think it was 22 or 23 million views within a few hours, 6 hours, I think, 23 million views. These massive numbers cannot be ignored by advertisers, and they can't be ignored by other content providers. Nobody else can deliver these numbers. I mean, nobody else can come close to delivering these kind of numbers. So you're going to see more content providers coming on, and then the advertisers will have no choice but to follow. So that is going to take more of the Twitter overhang, off the boards and allow that to be a non-issue or even a positive issue going forward. And then Linda Yaccarino, she joins 4 weeks earlier than we thought she was going to join, or 3 weeks earlier. So she's on board now. She's already working there. That has got to be another good thing. And she brings along with her another NBC Universal employee, another manager who quit NBC Universal last week and went to work for Twitter. These are all got to be things that make people feel good about the future of Twitter, which is a good thing in the overall scheme of things. Then we had the Motley Fool. I used to like the Motley Fool a lot. I'm not a big fan anymore, but they did come out with a headline today, and it said Tesla. They had several companies they called beaten down stocks that could explode, and they had the Tesla symbol as being one of them. So they're still considering Tesla to be a beaten down stock at 224. I do too. I think it should be at 400 already. I'm sure you think it should be at 400 already, but that's Motley Fool saying, hey, Tesla is going to or could explode. I think will explode. So with all of these positives and no negative news, you've got a sudden shift in sentiment. Now, is it just a quirk or is there more to it? Are editors no longer asking for negative Tesla news? Are they no longer buying unsolicited content with negative Tesla news? I know that it seems crazy, but maybe the negative news wasn't getting as many clicks as it was before, and therefore the editors are saying, no, I don't want to buy that stuff anymore. So let's talk about some of the things that we thought were hurting the brand. Let's take a look. Was Elon hurting the brand? Well, he's more in the news now than ever. But maybe it's his aw shucks demeanor that's roping in new friends. I mean, the guy is charming and lovely in these in-person events. There's no getting around it. Yeah, you can pick on this and pick on that. But if you're honest, he seems like somebody you could just go next door to and have some coffee or some beer and just have a great time with. He's friendly and outgoing, and he's great on TV. So I think that's helping. I don't think it's ever been hurting. I think it's helping now. And he's just on all the time now. So that could be changing minds. That could be a part of this mind shift. Now, the stock going up itself is going to change minds, okay? You start to see the stock going up and you're going, what did I miss? Should I be more in this, or should I buy some for the first time? So just the stock going up by 124% since the low of last year and 36% in 5 weeks. Yeah, anybody that's an investor has got to look at that. I was watching one video earlier today that say they've already missed it. Well, no, they haven't missed it. If you buy it at 300 and it goes to 500, you certainly haven't missed it. So I don't think anybody's missed anything yet. Does that mean there'll never be a down day? Does that mean there'll never be a 10% down, 10% down over a few days? Of course. There's always going to be profit takers like there were today that took it down from 130 to 124.5. So no, it's not going to be straight up, but the fact that the stock is going up this fast is causing people to take a second look. Another thing is, in 2023 so far, there's been almost 800,000 or so people who have become Tesla owners. 800,000 people added to the fleet, and they've told their friends about the car. So while there was only 1.3 million sold all of last year, we've almost had 800,000 already sold this year. And by the end of the year, it's going to be 2.2 million, I think. And so that's just adding more and more people that are fans, more and more people that are talking about it, more and more reasons for the narrative to shift. Now, let's take a look at the broader market. But before I do that, can I take 1 minute of your time to talk about my friend? This is not a paid ad, but it is an ad. If you like, let's call it an advertisement. Shaila she's a CPA. She has incredible skills in both tax and business accounting. I met her about 5 years ago, and I was so impressed with her right away. Just as soon as I met her, I was so impressed with her. I said, we need to write a book about business accounting. Most of the business, I've worked with over 400 clients over the last 16 years, and most of those clients could not have read a profit and loss report if you paid them to. They don't like math, they don't like spreadsheets, they don't understand how it works, and they don't know how to read the P&L. So I said, if we could do a book that would encourage people to use their P&L, to use their various reports that they get out of these very great accounting systems that we have today. So we wrote this book. It's called Making Money Out of Thin Air. You can buy it on Amazon. I encourage you to go buy one on Amazon. It's available in every single kind of format, except I don't think we did a hardback. But anyway, the reality is that most companies could make more money just by having a competent CPA provide them with the reporting, the correct reporting. That's part one. And then number two, be able to analyze it in such a way as that their client understands it. So anyway, a few months ago, I started helping Shaila build her CPA business. So if you own a business and you're even sort of unhappy with your CPA, or maybe you feel that they just do the books and they never really analyze it, well then maybe you want to give Shaila a call. She's at 951-768-2969. Now, another bunch of you out there, you don't have a small business, you don't have a big business, but you do have complicated taxes because you're investing and all these kind of things. So you need a competent CPA to do your taxes. Same thing. She's really great at it. She's been my tax accountant for 3 years, and she's the best I've ever employed. So give her a call if either one of those things work for you. Let her know that I suggested you call. That's 951-768-2969. All right. Kathy Wood calls the current market a bull that started months ago. Now, many, many others are joining the chorus and saying that we're in the bull market. Some say it started just now because the S&P just hit certain criteria that say it's now a bull market. But before Kathy said that we were in a bull market already last Friday, I hadn't seen anybody say it. I hadn't seen one headline. I hadn't seen one report. Nobody was talking about it being a bull market. So tell me that Kathy doesn't still have some power out there. Anyway, I believe we're in a bull. I think that that's an important thing. Now, what's going on in terms of this bull? Number one, important is the divergence of the NASDAQ from the Dow. Now that got a little bit out of whack. It was such a divergence that on Monday we had a correction. I'm sorry, Wednesday we had a correction, and we saw the NASDAQ come down a little bit with the Dow going up. I think that the NASDAQ will continue to diverge and continue to outrun the Dow into the future, into all of the future, because that's where the things are happening. Is all happening on the NASDAQ side, the tech side, ChatGPT, NVIDIA, Apple, the tech sector, everything AI. The impact of GPT is going to be quick. These efficiencies are already happening. We're seeing layoffs. We're seeing companies eliminate entire departments. We have companies talking about how many they're going to be able to lay off in the future, or how many people they're not going to have to hire in the future because of GPT. Imagine what's going to happen when the robots come. We've got Apple Computer doing things in technology the other day. Blew my mind. Did you notice something about the Apple stock afterwards? It did not go down dramatically. They didn't sell the news, and they didn't sell the fact that some people are worried about the price of the mixed media headset. Yeah, I thought it was a little pricey. Still plan to buy one. So anyway, the ChatGPT thing is coming. The markets also think that inflation is done, and they still think that interest rates are headed lower this year, with or without the Fed. So in other words, the Fed might not lower interest rates, but that doesn't mean that interest rates won't come down at the banks. That doesn't mean that interest rates won't come down in bonds, in the money market, et cetera. So if the overall market believes that inflation is low and going lower, then interest rates are going to come down with or without the Fed. And that's what the market believes. The market is also seeing that employment is staying high. Unemployment is not increasing, and increased 3% in this last reporting, but that was at the same time that the total employment, the number of people newly employed in the month went up double what the market was expecting. So that was mostly because you had all these new people coming into taking jobs that had not been taking jobs in the past. So with employment staying high, unemployment not becoming a problem, you've got all these efficiencies coming along. You've got inflation in my opinion, under control and going to get even less. In Kathy's opinion, going to be going to deflation, maybe not this year, maybe next year, maybe the following year, but at some point going into deflation. The market is starting to understand all of that. That's how the narrative is changing. And that narrative changing is going to mean that the market is going to go crazy. And according to some of my friends, maybe really crazy. We also have the regional banks are kind of out of the picture. I still think there is an issue with commercial properties that have office space. Those commercial properties could be in trouble, but that's a very small sliver of the total. And so I think the regional banks problem is probably done. And then, as I mentioned in my video last night, oil prices stayed flat, even in the face of the 500,000 barrels cut by the Saudis. And that was after the 1 million barrel cut that was done by the OPEC group. So you've taken 1,500,000 barrels off the market, and you're still sitting at around $72 a barrel. That's at the low end of the 70 to 80 range. So that's some kind of good news for the inflation, but it's not only good news for inflation. It suggests that, in fact, the impact of solar, wind, batteries, and BEVs is being felt, and we're starting to see demand destruction in the oil field. So that's the total picture. I probably have left some things out. Put it in the comments below if you think there's additional things that I should have talked about in this particular group. Maybe there's things you don't agree with. Comment below. That'd be great. And then, of course, hit like, hit subscribe, hit notify. Be sure to be here this afternoon for the Larry Goldberg visit, because it was fantastic. And then, of course, Patreon is always great. If you could help me out there, help support the channel. So this has been great. I've loved talking to you today. See ya.
Click the link below to get your paperback, Kindle, or audiobook now.